He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Joe, knifed right in the back.
I said, well, there's a debate in a week. Either he'll do well in the debate. Well, he was just tired because he flew all the way back from Europe and that'll be that. Or he'll be like this at the debate and then the whole country will be talking about it. So here we are.
Liars.
You spoke about Biden dropping out last week and then all of a sudden this week now they're hedging their bets.
Because he's digging his heels in.
Yeah, he dug his heels in. We need courage. You know, we just generally
like Joe's doing. He's standing up against George Clooney and Disney princess heiresses. Joe Biden losing Hollywood. George Clooney, you remember him from that old Batman movie. He is now saying it's time for Joe to go. And this is curious. A lot of people, again, really wondering why George Clooney's voice matters at all. But we think it's because he's good friends with Barack Obama, who is now kind of tapping him on the shoulder and saying, go out there and get rid of him. And so we're going to read through the op-ed. It's quite short. David Axelrod, the former Obama guy, says it's absolutely devastating. Said there's one line in there that is a kill shot from Clooney. So we'll see what Axelrod says about it. But we've also got Michael Douglas, who has changed his opinion pretty quickly. About 3-4 months ago, he was saying Biden's sharp as a tack. We think he's great, doing that little routine. And then now he was on The View saying, well, George Clooney's right. We might actually have to ditch Joe Biden because he's not doing so good. Rob Reiner's agreeing with this. We got reaction from Tim Kaine, a senator, says Joe Biden's going to do the right thing. And we're asking ourselves, what is Joe Biden going to do at his next big boy press conference? We're excited for that one. Maybe he'll finish the whole thing. So we'll talk about all of that coming up. But the big story, of course, is George Clooney's op-ed, and many wondering why it matters. And just consider it a proxy for Barack Obama. But they tell us George Clooney says, I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. Womp womp. Says, I'm a lifelong Democrat. We know. I make no apologies for that. You should. I'm proud of what my party represents and what it stands for. Why? As part of my participation in the democratic process and support of my chosen candidate, I've led some of the biggest fundraisers in my party's history. Obama, thanks. Clinton, thanks. Biden, thanks. And last month, even, he was here, Clooney co-hosted the single largest fundraiser supporting any Democratic candidate ever for Biden's re-election. And I say all this only to express how much I love Joe. I love Joe Biden. As a senator, as a vice president, I consider him a friend. I believe in him. But the one battle that he cannot win is the fight against time. None of us can. George Clooney's like, I get so many shots in my face, I'm trying hard. It's devastating to say it. This is the kill shot. But the Joe Biden I was dealing with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. Nope. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Joe, knifed right in the back. So he is like this all the time. Shocker. I know, we've known this for a long time. It's already been baked into the equation. So we got it. But he's saying it was not an aberration. This is the norm. So sorry. Was he tired? Yes. A cold? Maybe. But our party leaders need to stop telling us that 51 million people didn't see what we just saw, says George. All right, get the Oscar ready. He says, we're all so terrified by the prospect of a second Trump term that we've opted to ignore every warning sign or lie openly to your people. The George Stephanopoulos interview only reinforced what we saw the week before. As Democrats, Clooney says, we collectively hold our breath or turn down the volume whenever we see the president. Could you imagine? Joe Biden like, who we respect, walk off Air Force One or walk back to the mic or answer an unscripted question. Everyone's like, holy crap. Is it fair to point these things out? It has to be. This is about age, nothing more, but also nothing that can be reversed. We are not going to win in November with this president. On top of that, we won't win the House. We're going to lose the Senate. Man, he's freaked out. This isn't only my opinion, Clooney says. This is the opinion of every senator and congress member and governor that I've spoken with in private. Every single one, irrespective of what he or she is saying publicly. And this is wild. So this tells you, I mean, this is Clooney calling them liars, like they are cowards and liars. It's so pathetic. We love to talk about how the Republican Party has ceded all power and all the traits that made it so formidable with Ronald Reagan and Bush to a single person who seeks to hold on to the presidency. Yet most of our members of Congress are opting to wait and see if the dam breaks because they're cowards. But the dam has broken. We can put our heads in the sand and pray for a miracle, or we can speak for the truth. Now, it's disingenuous at best to argue that Democrats have already spoken with their vote. No, it's not. They did vote. They knew. They did speak with their vote. And you're going to presume that they didn't have full information? Why? Because you got duped? Doesn't mean they got duped. And therefore, the nomination is settled when we just received this new and upsetting information. We think Republicans should abandon their nominee now that he's been convicted of 34 felonies. Okay, well, we don't. So mind your own business. That's new and upsetting information as well. But we're not calling for a change because we know that your felonies are rigged. Top Democrats That's Schumer, Jeffries, Nancy. Like, that's a non sequitur. It has nothing to do with Joe at all. But Nancy Pelosi, all senators and representatives who face losing in November need to ask this president to voluntarily step aside. This is like panic button, man. All of the scary stories that we're being told about what would happen next are simply not true, says political scientist George Clooney. In all likelihood, the money in the Biden-Harris coffers could go to help elect the presidential ticket and other Democrats. Yeah, maybe if Joe Biden wants it to go to them, but it wouldn't go to them individually. It could go to other PACs. And basically he could spend that money in his PAC, but it cannot go to another individual candidate. It goes to Biden or to Harris, otherwise to PACs. And Joe Biden has a lot of control and say over that. So yeah, in all likelihood, maybe, depends, if Joe decided to do that, the new nominee wouldn't be left off the ballots in Ohio. We Democrats have a very exciting bench. We don't anoint leaders or fall sway to a cult of personality. Did you just hear yourself, dummy? You just explained that you have this new and upsetting information. Where did it come from? Because you just woke up from a cult of personality. You literally just woke up from a big lie of Joe Biden's competency. We vote for a president. We can easily foresee a group of several strong Democrats stepping forward to stand and tell us why they're best qualified to lead this country. So let's hear from Wes Moore and Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom and Andy Beshear and J.B. Pritzker and others. Let's agree that the candidates will not attack one another. This is racist, by the way. What's this white dude doing jumping in front of Kamala Harris? Are you nuts? She's the vice president. Gavin Newsom, the governor of failed California? No thanks. Says, let's agree that the candidates not attack each other? Are you kidding? So would it be messy? Yes. But democracy's messy. But would it enliven our party and wake up voters who have no energy at all? This is a big problem too. The enthusiasm gap is going to be just in the toilet. And they're going to have to make that up somehow. So be nervous about that because they're going to try. Long before the June debate had already checked out, it sure would. The short ramp to the election day would benefit for us because there would be no scrutiny at all, right? They could just squeeze someone in. Don't look at them. Just shove them in there. Here, eat it, America. Here, eat Whitmer. Here, eat some more. It would give us the chance to showcase the future without so much opposition research and negative campaigning, right? It's the old bait and switch, literally. He's talking about it. We're just going to bait and switch this thing. We're going to just shove him in at the convention. Nobody will know who the hell this person is. That comes with these ridiculously long and expensive election seasons. This can be an exciting time for democracy, as we've just seen with the 200 or so French candidates who stepped aside and installed communists in France, because apparently their people love to be raped. But Joe Biden is a hero. He saved democracy in 2020. We need him to do it again in 2024. Isn't that nice? So George Clooney, political scholar and scientist, actor, director, film producer, is going to write the course of America. And many people are, I think, reading this for what it is, which is just a figurehead, a placeholder to say the things that a bunch of the cowardly Democrats don't have the courage to say. So they just put it on some actor and then they can all just, oh yeah, let's see what happens. It's a floater. They're just floating it out there. But David Axelrod, who works for Obama, used to work for Obama, probably still does, is out saying this was a devastating take from Clooney because Clooney is confirming what we've all known. Joe Biden's been this way for a decade.
Chaotic. But here's what a top Biden fundraiser and longtime supporter, George Clooney, said about that in his op-ed this morning. Would it be messy? Yes, democracy is messy, but would it enliven our party and wake up voters who, long before the June debate, had already checked out? It sure would. The short ramp to Election Day would be a benefit for us, not a danger. John Favreau and David Axelrod are back with me. Ax, what do you think about that argument?
Look, I think there's merit. This is all a matter of risk assessment. There's risk associated with everything. The question is whether the risk of the status quo eclipses the risk of trying something else. And I think we've reached the point where many have come to that conclusion. But the thing about the piece, Dana, that I thought was particularly impactful was Clooney, who just hosted a major fundraiser
like
for the president a few weeks ago in California, said, you can't win the battle against time. None of us can. It's devastating to say. But Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago, the fundraiser was not the Joe Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate.
Rough.
That is devastating. And it's what people fear.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask John about, because, John, you were at that fundraiser as well. I don't know if you spent as much time with President Biden as George Clooney did, since he was one of the hosts. But that, I'm totally with you, David. That quote was like, wow.
I mean, it was not surprising to any of us who were at the fundraiser.
What? This guy is a podcast host? Pod Save America. John Favreau, he says, this is not surprising to any of us who were all there 3 weeks ago. Why didn't you guys say anything about it? Why didn't you talk about it on your podcast?
I was there. Clooney was exactly right. And every single person I talked to at the fundraiser thought the same thing, except for, people working for Joe Biden, or at least they didn't say that. But I remember my wife, Emily, turned to me after fundraiser and said, what are we going to do? And I said, well, there's a debate in a week. Either he'll do well in the debate. Well, he was just tired because he flew all the way back from Europe and that'll be that. Or he'll be like this at the debate and then the the whole country will be talking about it. And so here we are.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Oh, hopefully they pump him up full of methamphetamines is what they were saying. Liars. So we now know that they're being called out on this, or at least we're calling them out on it. Here's old Michael Douglas. You remember him. He has done some good films and been in some good stuff, but he was on this interview with Fareed Zakaria, who I think got nuked from CNN some time ago. But here is what he was talking about with Michael Douglas. This is old Michael Douglas. And just to be clear on the timing on this was posted April 21st, 2024 from Fareed's account. So it's probably recorded around that time. And this was around the time of these fundraisers, right? All this stuff is happening. So I don't know if Michael Douglas was there or not, but he is reporting on Joe Biden. Questions come up about his competency. Hey, Michael, any thoughts?
Are you one of those people who wished he had bowed out, let the field choose somebody else? How do you think about that?
Well, I think that I walk a little similar to him. And the people that I've talked to and everybody that I have say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine. We all have an issue with memories. As we get older, we forget names or something. He's overcome a stutter in his life, and sometimes he might. But let's just say that his entire cabinet, including his vice president, everybody in his cabinet, would be more than happy to work with him again in the next term. I cannot say that about the other candidate running, because nobody in his cabinet from 2016 wants to be involved with him.
Do you think when everyone says, yeah, he's okay now, but what's it going to be like the next 4 or 5 years? But you're going to work for the next 4 or 5 years. You're not retiring.
Well, I'm not. However, I will say we did Franklin in 2022, and after 165
Wait, he's not going to work? Oh, he's like, no, actually not at all.
days of shooting for 7 months, I haven't worked since. So I took 23 off, and we're going into 24, and I must say I'm enjoying the time off, and I think he'll just be fine. Thank you very much. This is probably the most important election of my lifetime.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go through it. Democracy. Okay. Well, what happened now? Michael Douglas fast forwards. He sees one Joe Biden debate. And he's like, oh, crap. They were lying to me. Now he comes back out. And he says, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about all this. Shows up on The View. Longtime Biden supporters says now George Clooney has a valid point. Joe Biden has dementia, probably needs to go. All right. That's a pretty quick shift. What happened there? It's like 3 months went by there, Michael.
Supporter. And we've been watching the news this week. It's a little bit disheartening. You even hosted a fundraiser at
I did.
at your home in April, right?
I did.
So what do you think of his debate performance? And do you agree with calls for him to step aside? Even Nancy Pelosi seems on the fence now about him stepping aside.
I know. This is such a tough one. I adore the guy. 50 years of public service.
He's a lovely man.
He's been a wonderful guy.
Lovely,
and this
lovely.
just happens to be one of these elections that is just so crucial. And it's really hard. I don't worry necessarily today or tomorrow, but a year down the line, I worry. I am concerned. I'd like maybe to go back and forth. I'm looking at some of our politicians who spoke about Biden dropping out last week, and then all of a sudden this week now they're hedging their bets.
Because he's digging his heels in.
Yeah, he dug his heels in.
Yeah.
Well, we need courage. We just generally need...
Like Joe's doing. He's standing up against George Clooney and Disney princess heiresses. He is standing up, and anybody who is an ageist and an ableist should be ashamed of themselves for trying to show him the exit.
Strength and courage on side of both parties. And the doc tries to be as bipartisan as possible.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
pointing the finger necessarily.
Arthur Brooks was in it, who's fabulous. I do want to mention George Clooney just came out with an op-ed calling for Biden to step aside, saying the stakes are too high for future generations. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think it's a valid point. I'm deeply concerned. especially it's difficult because the Democrats have a big bench. They've got a lot of heavy hitters.
A lot of talent there.
A lot of
They're
talent.
well known. People have to catch up. They only have a few months to
And I
catch.
do worry with the debate, the difficulty with the debate. It was relatively simple. First of all, they should have just told the president to stand up, put a little makeup on him, for the debate, which didn't help, and then where to look.
And call the other guy a convicted felon.
And call the other guy, and just don't deal with all your facts, just deal with his lies.
Just say you're a liar. That's a lie. That's another lie. And
Right.
a lie.
But then
And
when
a
he
lie.
does
and a
that,
lie.
everybody says you're not doing that. You can't win in this game. I really feel bad for him.
Yes, you can. You just have to have a brain, for crying out loud. It's a debate. There's been a ton of them, all right? Trump's not the first politician who's been accused of lying on a debate stage. Are you nuts? These people are so pathetic. They can't even someone should do something. something about this. Yeah, Joe Biden, he was on the debate stage. He had as much time as Trump did. Weirdos. What do you guys want? It's like equal time? You got it. All right. So anyways, that is over from The View. You can see they are throwing Joe Biden out. Rob Reiner, big Hollywood, whatever, just big in Hollywood, says, my friend George Clooney has clearly expressed what many of us have been saying. Really, Rob? Really? What were you saying a week ago before the debate? Not this. We love and respect Joe Biden. We acknowledge all he's done for the country, but democracy's facing an existential threat. Now it's from Joe, I guess, and Trump. We need someone younger to fight back. Joe Biden must step aside. And some people who are Democrats, like this senator, think he's going to do it. They think Joe Biden is going to be patriotic and step aside for the good of America. Here is Senator Tim Kaine, who ran with Hillary Clinton before Trump beat the crap out of them. Here is what he said about this.
I have complete confidence that Joe Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country, and he's going to make that decision. He's never disappointed me. He's always patriotism and the country ahead of himself, and I'm going to respect the decision that he makes.
That's from Tim Kaine, and he's saying that complete confidence that Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country. We'll see if he does. I sure hope he doesn't, because I think Joe Biden is doing the patriotic thing right now, and he's doing what the voters have asked him to do. He's the Democratic nominee, and we support him. Now, Joe Biden will come out. He's got a big boy press conference that will be coming up, and we're curious about what it's going to entail. Apparently, it's not going to be that long. But here is what John Kirby, who is now shilling for Joe, has to say.
How long is the president's press conference going to be tomorrow?
I don't know how long it will be, but he will be calling
Karine
on
Jean-Pierre
several
said
reporters.
it would be more than 2 and 2. So
it will be. It'll be more than 4 reporters for sure. But how long it's going to take is going to depend on how many questions he gets asked, because as you know, every reporter likes to ask more than one question, and of course how long he takes to answer them. So I can't give you a time certain, but it'll be a substantial press conference, again, with multiple reporters and him by himself calling on them.
Wow. Him by himself calling on him. Wow, I'm really excited to watch our president talk to the press. It's going to be amazing. I wonder if it's going to be anything like this. I don't know what happened in this video feed. I don't know if this was just somebody who had a stroke out or what, but Joe Biden grabs this microphone. This woman doesn't want to let go of it, as you can see. So he grabs it. I think he already made a speech, gave it over to her. He grabs the microphone back. This camera guy's like, cut it! Everybody's like cutting the cables, or something's going on. I don't know what. Or maybe this dude just stroked out. I hope he's okay. But here's the scene there in this campaign event.
I promised I was going to have a cabinet look like America. And it does. More minorities, more women, more labor. I'm serious. Think about it. That's who we are. That's why we're strong. We're diverse. We're strong. We got to stop looking at it like it's some problem. It's an asset.
That's real, I think. It's from RNC. I don't know what happened to the feed. That's how they cut it. Got some problems over there with their recording situation. So Joe Biden losing Clooney, losing Hollywood, Michael Douglas flipping the script, but Joe Biden will appear for a big boy press conference. We'll see how he does, and we'll have our coverage and analysis on more of the Biden cover-up as his brain continues to dement before our very eyes. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this, my friends, and check out this next video coming up, because we're talking about contempt and the Biden officials now coming under congressional scrutiny for covering up Biden's brain problem. We have Luna and more in Congress happening right now, so we'll talk about that. Hopefully click over and join us there, and we'll see you back here on the next one.